What's up, guys? If you're watching today's video, you're probably trying to figure out if you should buy a Model Y long range or if you should get the Mustang Mach-E with the extended range battery. And so we're gonna really break down both cars. We are Tesla owners, so we're gonna give you a very impartial review of both cars, and we're gonna see if the Mustang can really keep up with Tesla, the Model Y, the standard of electric vehicles today. So please stay tuned till the end of the video to see what we think of both of these cars. Over here, guys, we have a 2023 Mustang Mach-E Premium with the extended range battery pack. Pricing this one at around $60-ish thousand. This one qualifies for the partial tax credit from the federal government. And this car comes with a 91 kilowatt hour battery pack that outputs around 300 miles of range. Pretty solid. We come over here, we see that we have Tesla Model Y. Everyone knows this car. It gets around 330 miles on a full charge, depending on the wheel and tire configuration. And it has about an 80-ish kilowatt hour battery pack, which, yes, this car is more efficient. This car is more spacious. This car is cheaper. But these things don't matter to everyone. Some people want a car that's more aesthetically pleasing. In my opinion, the styling of the Mustang, way better. Obviously, it's not as abundant as the Tesla. I mean, no offense to Tesla, this isn't a bad thing, but these are like the Honda Civics of today. Reliable, gets the job done, affordable, great cars all around. But the Mustang, I mean, look at the styling of this thing. Look at the wheels, all blacked out. The headlights, I love that. Come here and look at the door handles, Roof. This is so cool. You just press it, pops out, opens. It's like small things like that that make me like a car. I showed this car to a few people now, and all they talk about is the door handles, which is why we're gonna see it on the Cybertruck. Again, Ford did it first. But let's go over to the rear. Clear taillights, I love that. Porsches generally have that. Super high-end cars have that. You have the blacked out Mustang logo, and just look at the way the car slopes down. You have a spoiler integrated into the rear trunk, and just the way it sits at the rear, it's not egg-shaped like the Tesla. Now, I have a Tesla, I daily a Tesla, so I can talk about it as much as I want, but I think the shape of the Tesla it's a little weird. Yes, it's functional, but I always thought the front looked like a frog, and if you go to the side profile of the car over here, it's just, the shape is interesting, is to say the least. And you go over to the rear of the car, maybe it's just because the market is so saturated with these cars to where you see it so much, and then it just becomes like bland a bit. So that's why I feel like the Mustang really stands out from a styling perspective. But again, if you care about efficiency and all that kind of stuff, yes, the styling of this, very efficient. Let's get into the inside of this car now, or both cars, and let's sort of assess the quality, the experience you get in both of these vehicles. All right, guys, so the next thing would be the interior of this car. Now, the first thing that stands out to a lot of people is the screen. Yes, we have a vertical touchscreen here, works great, but in my opinion, the first thing that stood out to me was the materials. Everything in this car feels super premium. As you can see, we have perforated seats. I do believe there's an option to get these seats ventilated. You have a scroll knob over here, very much like a Range Rover, high end, and a scroll knob here. This scroll knob is multifunctional. So again, depends on the person. It's just something you have to get used to. The Tesla, minimalistic design. There's no screen up here on the Tesla like there is in the Mustang, but that's something that I got used to when I got my Model 3. But again, back to the materials. You have a Bang & Olufsen sound system on this. You have carbon fiber on the dash. You have an amazing sunroof, if you can get that, cameraman. It's just like the Tesla, let's be honest. But what stood out to me was the driving experience, the build quality. Nothing in here rattles, nothing in here shakes. It just feels premium. And when you're driving, the car is very isolated in the sense that there's not a lot of wind noise, road noise, things rattling. It's just built very well. And there's small things that are cool too. Look at the door seal, Mustang. I will say, the branding is a little strange. I love it, Mustang, but I don't know the similarities between this and the actual Mustang. I think they just figured the Mustang sells well, so let's just name it as so. But here, armrest, lift it, plenty of storage in here, storage up here with a wireless charging pad, and you have more storage down here versus the Tesla that just literally has a box that you just throw things in, and it's pretty deep, lots of space. But this is a little more functional, you know? 2 stories of space, 2 cup holders, and overall, pretty nice setup. This car also comes with a sunglasses holder thing over here, which Tesla doesn't have. And if that's important to you, I guess, you know, this might be the car for you. But let's step into the back of this vehicle and let's see how I fit, because obviously you can tell, cameraman, that there's not as much space in here as there is a Tesla. So let's see if me being 6'4", if I can have a comfortable experience in the back. All right, guys, you can see the beautiful button. I really like that thing. Gonna open the door. I'm gonna see if I can fit. The seat over here is pretty far back, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna sit in here real quick. Oh my. The seat is super comfortable. I don't know why, but a lot of cars, you just get in the back seat, and generally they neglect the back. They'll put hard cushioning and stuff just because who sits in the back, but super comfortable. I have plenty of headroom up top, which, cameraman, if you can sort of finagle that, I can even fit in the, wow. I can even fit in the middle. That is pretty incredible. But such a beautiful experience back here with the sunroof. If you give me the camera real quick, I'll showcase what I'm seeing back here, guys. Boom. Again, this isn't something you get in a lot of gas cars. And of course, the trunk. We'll open up the trunk real quick. I will say something that's cool about this. There is this built-in cover to protect your belongings. If you live in San Francisco or Los Angeles, this might be the car for you. Hopefully you don't get your car broken into, but it'd probably happen anyways. But you can see there's enough space. Again, less space overall, but is space really that important? No, we're not a semi-trucking, hauling company, whatever. You're gonna put your groceries in here, and that's about the extent to which you're gonna use the space. You lift this up, be honest, there's not a lot of storage space down here like there's in the Tesla, but they do give you this charging accessory kit, and there's a tire inflator, which you don't get with the Tesla, if we're being honest, and boom, you close the trunk, and that's that. Now we can get into the Tesla real quick and look at the spacing, the materials, the quality, and the experience you get in the white Tesla. Boom. All right, guys, we're back in the Tesla. I will tell you immediately that everything's very simple in here. That's what Tesla is known for. Less is more. The seats on this car, I'll be honest, I do love them. They are comfortable. It's just the materials and stuff, it feels cheap. And you guys will only understand this if you sit in both vehicles. And I don't need to drive this to show you guys, but I have plenty of experience driving my car, this car, many other cars. There's a lot of like rattling, vibrations, which has improved. I will say that, I will admit, it has improved. Today it's much better than it was a year ago. But again, it's just the materials don't feel the same, which contributes to your overall driving experience. You know, why do people buy BMWs? Why do people buy Mercedes? Because the materials, the feeling, the experience is really nice. Yes, it has a crazy sunroof. There's plenty of spacing here. Actually, you guys are probably interested how I fit in the back here relative to the Mustang. And I will say, there's gonna be more space here just because of the way this car is shaped. But this car is more of just like a mom car, you know? You can bring your family members in this car very comfortably, safely. The charging is great. Again, this is why this is the Honda of vehicles, just because everything is just designed well, but cheap. All right, guys, so I'm gonna step in the back of this vehicle. Again, I'm 6'4", I'm pretty tall. You can kind of gauge that. And I sit inside. The first thing I notice, definitely more headroom, a few more inches of headroom. If that matters to you, whatever. But the seats in the back of this car, again, comfortable, but not as comfortable as those. Feels like they just put some random cushioning in the back here, but it comes down again to the choice of materials. That car's a little more expensive because they opted to use better materials overall, versus the Tesla, which is more about cost savings and just delivering the minimum needed to give someone a good experience overall. If you guys want to look at the trunk real quick, we can see that there is plenty of room in this thing. You can see we have a tennis bag, and if we lift this down here, plenty of room. So again, if you care about that, then maybe you got to opt for this, but just the materials and whatnot, everything feels lighter to the touch. You know, like generally with Chinese made products versus American made products, it's all about like a feeling and an experience, which I'm not sure that the Tesla delivers as much as it does with the Mustang. Let's look at one more thing with the front of both vehicles. As you know, they're electric, so they do have frunk space. Then I will say the Tesla frunk space is probably slightly bigger, but I'll tell you something that annoys me with the Ford. There are a few ways to open the frunk with the Ford, but it's kind of strange. If you guys can see, we have a key. I know it's a little ghetto, but I think you can only open the trunk from the key and not the frunk. But I definitely use a frunk on my car a lot, which is strange, but come over here. Traditionally with gas cars, you have this lever to open the front. And it looks like Ford just stick to that older technology, which is it's cool. Guys, one thing that I forgot to mention was the frunk space in both vehicles. Generally, Tesla gets the whole, oh my God, they maximize the space everywhere. Other automakers can't create enough frunk space and trunk space and whatever. But look at the Tesla frunk here. Spacious? Yes. Is it that much bigger than the Mustang? Not really. The Mustang has stuff in it, but you can really gauge and see like the depth of the frunk. But I will say something that's weird. The frunk can get hot. And that could be because of the cooling system up front. We did drive the car to Vegas. It was about 130 degrees out. I know the Tesla frunk doesn't get that hot because maybe the cooling systems are more insulated, but I had my laptop bag in here and it got very, very hot. Hot to the touch to where I was like, you know what I mean? And the frunk on this car is also much heavier, a little more difficult to close, but that also gets back into my points of Tesla choosing cheaper materials. I mean, this frunk, it's super light. It's almost like they got aluminum foil and compressed it and made a frunk, which is fine because it works. This feels like a Chinese-made car, even though it's probably the most American-made car that exists. And this just feels like a super, super rigid, super well-built, and good car all around. But let me get into something, guys, that I haven't covered yet, and it's the charging of both of these vehicles. If we come over here, you can see that this car has CCS. Obviously, you guys probably knew that. But what does that mean? That means you have to use the Electrify America charging system and the EVgo charging system and all that. And from my experience, just driving this car to Vegas and back and driving it around town, again, we live in Los Angeles, which is a very high utilization area for CCS charging. They just don't work that well. The issue is that a lot of people don't understand how bad CCS charging is. The stations are known to be broken half the time. Just from our experiences alone with this car, every single charging station we went to either had half the stalls broken down or we had to plug in like 15 different times to get it to work. And after we did plug in, it would give us like half the charging rate. This car can do up to 150 kilowatts. Did we get that charging speed sometimes? Yes. But on average, we were getting like 70 or 80 kilowatts, which is just unbelievable. Versus the Tesla, you bring it to the Tesla charging station, which is pretty much everywhere. You plug it in, you don't have to deal with anything. It starts charging within like 10 seconds and you have a seamless charging experience every single time. I've owned a Tesla for the past like 2.5 years. Not once have I had an issue with charging. Versus, it's not specific to this car, but just CCS charging in general, almost every single time I go, I have an issue, which is bad because if you want a car like this and you want to road trip it and stuff, you don't want to have to worry about charging it, which sucks because I actually really enjoy this car. And I think if they priced it a little more competitively, it would make a lot of sense. That's why Ford is transitioning to the NACS charging standard, which means that you can now use the Tesla charger, which is actually really good. But for now, as it stands, until that conversion happens, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it's worth buying any CCS car unless you only charge at home and you'll only like road trip maybe once a year, if that's not really an issue to you. For me, it was extremely inconvenient, which sucks because this car just looks so aggressive, sporty. We had plenty of people looking at us while we were just driving around town. And the Tesla, no one's gonna turn an eye to a Tesla anymore. I mean, people have to wrap it in chrome for anybody to just give it a second of attention, which is unfortunate, but that's just, it is what it is. But again, guys, in my opinion, it just depends on you, okay? If you guys care about the styling and price isn't important and you're just looking for a good experience overall, I'd highly consider this car. There's nothing about this car that really turned me off. Even Blue Cruise works really good, which is the autopilot equivalent. Tesla, they're good cars, they're everywhere. It just depends on you. I'd recommend test driving both of these cars. We've definitely had a great time with this car. Thank you again, Ford, for sending this car to us for a week. But this was my impartial review of both of these vehicles. Again, great car, just depends on what your needs are. So thanks for tuning in to this video. Stay tuned for more electric vehicle content. We might actually start transitioning into maybe hybrid vehicles or cool gas cars. We're not sure yet, but for now, this is what we got. Let us know in the comments below what car you guys would take from these two. I feel like I'm leaning a little towards the Mustang just because I'm a little tired of seeing Teslas, but let me know.